Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're just letting everyone in. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Inaudi Esposito. I'm the Executive Director for the Orange County Human Rights Commission. Today I am joined by Tina Keneally. Hi, Tina.
Hello.
Tina is the Senior Victim Services Coordinator for the Mental Health Association in Orange County's Rape Crisis Program, and she's been in that role for 12 years now. And we're really excited today to be part of the Start Believing campaign. But before we get started, and as we wait for everybody to join us, I just want to share a couple of programs that the Human Rights Commission is going to be hosting in the next month or so. If you are not on our email list yet, please feel free to send me an email or put your email and request in the chat box, and I'll make sure to add you. Wednesday, May 18th, so that's next Wednesday, is part one of a two-part talk on of our Health Equity Talks series. And the specific topic this month is on healthcare disparities and women of color. We're really super excited about this conversation. The Wednesday conversation starts with Dr. Gelman, Commissioner of Health for Orange County, and it'll be moderated by Michelle McCune, COO of RECAP. The other program that we have going on this month, as I move over this way, so later in the month, on May 31st, which is the anniversary of the beginning of the Black Wall Street massacre, we're going to have a wonderful talk facilitated by Earl Miller, Pastor Miller, who is from an organization called Humanity Focused Solution and also a Human Rights Commissioner here for Orange County. He will be giving us a really insightful presentation on what happened in Tulsa in 1921. So please feel free to join us. And then at the beginning of June, we are having social worker Paula McMillan Perez talk about racial equity and how do we infuse accountability towards people of color in practice and theory. So look out for that registration as well. And please join us for any or all of those conversations. So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing my screen here. And Tina, hand it over to you.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody, or actually good afternoon, everybody. I really appreciate this opportunity to share some information about our Start by Believing campaign. I'm going to share my screen. I'm here today on behalf of the Mental Health Association in Orange County, Inc. I am part of the Orange County Rape Crisis Program. This is our Start by Believing campaign. This is our team presently. On the far left-hand corner, you see Kathleen McCoy, who is our Crisis Service Manager. In the middle, you see Christiana Morgan, who is our Victim Services Coordinator, Enough is Enough Coordinator. And then up on the upper right-hand corner, of course, you see I have different hair color, is me. I am the Senior Victims Services Coordinator, also the Sexual Assault Examiner Program Coordinator as well. So a little bit about what we do at Orange County Rape Crisis, just to give you a little bit of an overview. So one of our biggest roles is advocacy, and you see a picture there of Mr. Newhouse and all of the members who came to our very first proclamation in April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And the first Wednesday of every April is Start by Believing Day. So Mr. Newhouse in this picture is proclaiming Orange County a Start by Believing County, and April, the first Wednesday in April, our first Start by Believing Day. We had our second one recently on the 6th of April this month, or last month. So we're really moving ahead. This will be our second year in our Start by Believing campaign. In the middle, is a picture of us doing some community education in the community. This is a picture of our clothesline project. Many of you may have seen it. It's where we put up the t-shirts from all survivors in Orange County that depicts their stories or friends or family members. And we're over at SUNY Orange in that picture. And then finally, not finally, but we have our sexual assault examiner program. So these are specially trained nurses who are, whose function is to collect evidence from survivors. I'll be talking more about each of these roles. So as advocates, we are advocating for the rights of survivors. It's a 24/7 program. Advocates will respond everywhere that a survivor identifies that there's a need. So we often go to hospitals, police stations, schools, the court system, and basically anywhere that a survivor identifies that they would like supports. Our community education, it starts at middle school and goes right up through college level. We also do community organizations, nightlife establishments, where we offer prevention, education, and professional development. Our campus sexual assault prevention is through Enough is Enough, which we partner with the Orange County District Attorney's Office. So what is a sexual assault examiner? You may have heard the word SANE. It could also be a sexual assault examiner, it could be a sexual assault nurse examiner, or you could hear sexual assault forensic examiner. The reason there are a little bit of different titles is that this the person who can become a sexual assault examiner could be a registered nurse, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, or a medical doctor. So our sexual assault examiners provide forensic rape exams, which is basically DNA collection from the body of our survivors. They're available on an on-call basis. And if I do not have a sexual assault examiner on, hospital staff in the emergency departments do the forensic exams. So what is a forensic rape exam? It is collection of touch DNA from a survivor's body. So that could be any body fluid that could be present on the skin, could be saliva, semen, vaginal discharge, it could be prostate fluid, it could be anything you can think of. It could be even sweat. So what we're doing is we're swabbing the victim's body to gather evidence to be used in a court of law. It also includes labs and different medications that we offer survivors for free. The evidence collection and the medications that we offer are all free because New York State Office of Victim Services pays for that so that all survivors can at the very minimal get medical treatment for this horrific event. So they offer Plan B, they offer a whole bunch of high dose antibiotics that cover the most common sexually transmitted diseases you may have been exposed to, and they offer HIV medication. They also take pictures of any injury that they may see. They provide medical advocacy with the doctors and the nurses in the emergency department, and they offer survivors education and support. So here's some of the specialized equipment that our sexual assault examiners utilize in order to capture that evidence. So in the upper left-hand corner, you see one of our sexual assault examiners using a handheld colposcope, which is basically a magnifying apparatus that's attached to a camera. So that allows us to really see those very little injuries that you may not see with the naked eye and be able to capture them with pictures so that we can use them for evidence in a court of law. And just to show you how well our equipment takes pictures, in the lower left-hand corner right below her, you can see that there is a plastic vagina model in the background, which we use for our sexual assault examiners to learn how to do pelvic exams. And of course, it doesn't have a cervix, and they have to be able to identify the cervix. So we put a dime all the way back inside that vagina model. And so you can see how good our camera gets, because you can actually see the dime pretty clearly. In the middle, we have one of our nurses in the upper middle. One of our nurses is using a specialized camera with a light source. So that allows us to capture, again, injuries that may not be seen by the naked eye. If you want to switch to the lower right-hand corner, you'll see an amber light. One of our lenses for the camera is amber. And what that allows us to do is if a survivor were to say, well, he was restraining me by my hands, they really hurt, but when we examine them, there's no redness and there's nothing that we can detect with our eyes. If there's a bruise that's underneath the surface that's going to come up, The amber light will show us that, be able to photograph that. You really can't see without the lights being out, but if you were in a room with lights out, you could see that the arm that's being shown has very light bruising underneath the skin, and the amber light really allows us to see those. So the toilet picture, just to explain it a little bit, one of our senior says took a picture of her toilet at home. She has a few gentlemen that live in the house who say they never miss the toilet. And then when she turned out her lights and used the camera with the blue filter, you can see, not too good again because light's not out, but there are a lot of misses that they picks up. So our equipment, we also use an alternative light source, which I don't have a picture of here. There's like a big flashlight kind of thing, and it has all different UV lights that allow us to pick up evidence. We're always trying to stay on top of the state-of-art equipment. So what is the process? So if anyone is interested in getting a sexual assault advocate to come out, they just need to call 311, which is our Orange County Crisis Call Center. There are some areas in Newburgh where 311 does not work, so we are going to continue to maintain the 1-800-832-1200 number that has been in existence for a long time. Once the call goes into the Crisis Call Center, the caller there takes down some information from people, and they don't get anything too deep. They just basically want to know the name, the contact information, and what services the person is interested in receiving. Once they get that information, they call the advocate who's on call. So those three people I showed you in the beginning, Kathleen, myself, and Christiana, are the advocates right now who are responding to calls 24/7 in addition to our 9-to-5 jobs. So we get the call and we're going to ask for certain information that we're going to need, such as, when did the assault happen? And that matters because evidence collection is best if we can get it within 120 hours. So not every survivor who calls the Crisis Call Center is going to necessarily want evidence collection or need evidence collection. So it's important for us to get the information. Once we know what the survivor wants, then we will either go to the hospital, the police station, the DA's office, a college, a school. We have an hour to arrive from the moment we receive the call. And if the situation warrants a sexual assault examiner to do evidence collection, we would contact the sexual assault examiner to have them go to a hospital. So here's just a little bit about some of our partners. So the Orange County Crisis Call Center is a really vital partner for a lot of you also on this call. You probably know a lot about it, but we want to make sure everyone knows all the great services that are available at the Crisis Call Center. So again, it is a support for all of the community members here in Orange County that's 24/7. And it's totally confidential unless they are mandated reporters. So the mandating reporting situations, they would have to report. They provide telephone support, assessment, and warm connection to appropriate services. Our text for teens is now available 24/7. So that's a great option for teens that just want to text rather than call in. And of course, the number is 845-391-1000. You can also get rape crisis through that number. The Crisis Call Center will provide information and referrals in any situation. If you just have somebody that needs information on housing or how to get access benefits, they have a lot of great resources at their disposal. They also dispatch the Crisis Mobile Response Team. Many of us in the community remember them as the Mobile Mental Health Unit. So that unit provides in-person support, assessment, and crisis de-escalation and connection to appropriate services for mental health, substance abuse issues, and developmental disability crises. They also have the peer support program where they are able to hook individuals in the community who may want a peer to help them navigate the system or help them to engage in services and provide ongoing support. They will actually meet the person in the community. So a really great resource to always have at your hand. We're also partners with the Child Advocacy Center here in Orange County. They recently, I want to say, I think they're going into their second year, opened up an office in Goshen on 40 Matthew Street. And the idea for the Child Advocacy Center is it's one place for a child that's child-friendly to meet with a multidisciplinary team to do forensic interviews and then get the supports that they need wrapped around them. So there's a lot of partners that go to the Child Advocacy Center. We have the Child Protective Service workers, prosecutors, law enforcement investigators, rape crisis, domestic violence services, medical providers, and mental health providers. Dana Newman is the Child Advocacy Center coordinator, and she loves to do presentations. If anybody on this call would love her to come over and do a presentation, she invites that. She also invites tours. If anybody's interested in reaching out to her, you can actually go and tour the Child Advocacy Center. It's a really great addition to our community. The other thing that I was like to mention is that we have a Orange County Sexual Assault Response Team. I am the coordinator of the Sexual Assault Response Team, and basically the idea behind that is that we're a community-based team that coordinates the response to survivors of sexual assault. So our goal is to make sure that all responders are treating our survivors in a trauma-informed way. So that group encompasses all 32 law enforcement departments, hospital emergency department administration for the 5 hospitals in Orange County, as well as the 2 military sexual assault response teams, Orange County Safe Harbor, I already told you that, the DA's office, and the Orange County Attorney's Office. It also encompasses the sexual assault examiners and rape crisis. Hopefully it got everybody. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about trauma-informed. So everyone says it, but what does it mean? So you see a picture here of Maslow's pyramid of wants and needs. So when we say it, what does it mean? It means that you recognize there's a merit way that trauma can be experienced and you respect that you are prepared to meet the needs of a traumatized person, that you ask questions strategically and transparently. Somehow I went backwards. So I'm going to just go over really briefly because I think it's really important for all of us to know how trauma affects our brain and what the immediate responses are so that you can better support survivors. So in the moment that trauma happens, we enter what is called the survival mode, which refers to brain functioning in chronically stressful conditions. But it's also referring to the temporary state of the brain and body in which our behaviors typically consist of reflexes and habits. Survival reflexes are hardwired, they are not learned, because evolution has put them in our brain. They're triggered automatically without thinking or choice. Survival reflexes are defined as freezing, which is basically our brain's way of stopping everything to assess the danger and kind of figure out the most effective response. This typically happens in the beginning of a sexual assault and lasts about just a second or two. Then the survivor may experience one of 3 or a combination of all 4. Tonic immobility, in which the body is literally paralyzed and the muscles become rigid. Collapsed immobility, in which the blood pressure and the heart rate drop, and the person may feel faint or pass out, or their muscles go limp. Disassociation, which is where awareness is automatically disconnected from the disturbing and painful sensations and emotions arising from your body. And the reason that this is part of the evolution is that when a predatory animal was chasing its prey, if the prey just stopped writhing in agony and just laid still, the predatory animal would lose interest and walk away. So that's why disassociation was selected by evolution in moments of trauma. Sexual assault survivors often describe it as feeling numb, in a dream, or out of my body. Self-protection habits. Habit behaviors are even more common than reflexes during a sexual assault. So the 2 habits that we have developed throughout our life are polite acquiescence and submission. And that's the behavior that we learned when we're dealing with aggressive and dominant people who have power over us, such as parents, teachers, or supervisors. Passivity, which we often will learn in childhood, especially if a child has repeated experiences of abuse, exploitation, or domination. So oftentimes an adult or a teenager who's otherwise strong and confident will resort back to submissive behavior because long ago that enabled them to cope and survive in abusive relationships. Knowing this, we can assure that their reaction was the right one because it kept them alive. As much as we like to say that our sexual assault The response team is making this process a lot better, and we're definitely all working together to make the process as least amount of stress as possible. It is still a very stressful and traumatic experience to report. So the system of reporting can often lead to the survivor experiencing additional trauma or re-traumatization. And many survivors experience heightened distress and may develop post-traumatic stress disorder. As a matter of fact, survivors of sexual assault are particularly at risk for PSTD development, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, when compared to survivors of other traumas. Some survivors avoid reporting crimes to the police due to concerns over experiencing additional distress. Studies actually show that the lack of system prosecutorial success in secondary victimization increase post-traumatic stress disorders. As many as 1/3 to 1/2 of all sexual assault survivors withdraw participation from an investigation at some point. Long-term effects of sexual assault: 10% of women and 4% of men will develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects almost 16 million women and 6 million men nationwide. Close to 30% of post-traumatic stress disorder in the United States is due to physical or sexual violence. About 30% of all PSTD cases in the United States can be attributed to sexual violence alone. This is alarming, especially considering that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men experience some form of sexual violence in their lifetime. So now we're going to just talk about Start by Believing. So as a way of introducing what it is, Start by Believing is a global awareness campaign that was started in 2011 by End Violence Against Women International. And the idea is to transform the way we respond to sexual assault. So it's designed to prepare family, friends, professionals to respond positively to disclosures of sexual assault victimization. The goal is to enhance well-being and encourage both reporting and help seeking among survivors. Communities that have embraced this campaign report an increase in the reports of sexual assault crimes, survivors seeking help from professionals, and successful prosecution outcomes. Why Start by Believing? Historically, disclosures of sexual assault often elicit responses of doubt and blame, not compassion and support. Negative reactions have a detrimental effect on survivors. These reactions lead to decreased reports to law enforcement and decreased help seeking from professionals. So just to give you a little picture of what is happening with sexual assaults. So when reported to law enforcement, 1/3 to 1/2 will withdraw from the criminal justice process. Less than 1% of sexual assaults result in investigation, prosecution, conviction, and incarceration. So what we see is a striking pattern of attrition for sexual assault cases within the criminal justice system. And over here you have a chart from RAIN, which really shows you out of 230 that are reported to police, only 46 lead to an arrest. Out of those 46 arrests, only 9 cases get referred to prosecutors. Of those 9, 5 cases will lead to a felony conviction. So 4.6 rapists are all that will be incarcerated. So are you ready to end this cycle of silence? Failed responses, additional victims. Stop the cycle and make our community safer. What is Start by Believing? Again, this is just a little a slide to show you what some people have said, why they have joined the campaign. So first we have is Ryan, who is a criminal investigator. He's a husband, a father, and a male role model. I strive to become better for the people involved. When someone tells me they were raped or sexually assaulted, I start by believing. My name is Beth Buhan. I'm retired from the U.S. Postal Service. I have not had personal experience with sexual violence, but know that believing will help all victims. When someone tells me they were raped or sexually assaulted, I start by believing. Thousands of people across the country and around the world have made the pledge. So how do we talk to survivors? What do we say? So whenever I walk into the room and I meet the survivor for the first time, I always tell them I'm very sorry to be meeting them in these circumstances. And I tell them, and I mean it each and every time I say it, I want you to know how brave you are, because so few women or men come forward to talk about this horrific thing that's happened to them. And so you are so brave to be here today. And if you don't remember anything else I tell you today, remember that you are not to blame for what happened. So many of our survivors are already doing self-blame and already second guessing what they should have done to get out of that situation. So we want to make sure that they understand that whatever they did was the right action to get out of that situation safely. So some of the things that you can say: I believe you. It took a lot of courage to tell me about this. It's very tough for them to share their story, and they should never be forced to share their story, but it's nice if they know that if they want to share the story, that there's someone that's going to be willing to listen. You want to avoid why questions, because no matter how well-meaning you think you are, it comes across as very accusatory. And it also, just to keep in mind that if somebody's very calm when they're telling you the story, it does not mean it didn't happen. Everyone reacts to trauma in a very different and individual way. So the best thing that we can do for a survivor is believe them. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything to deserve this. As I already told you, survivors always blame themselves, especially if they know the perpetrator personally. And 90% of all sexual assaults, the perpetrator is known and trusted by the survivor. Remind the survivor, maybe even more than once, that they're not to blame. You are not alone. I care about you. I'm here to listen and help in any way I can. Just lets the survivor know that you're there for them and that you're willing to listen. And if they don't want to tell you this story, assess to see if there's somebody in their life they feel comfortable going to, or remind them that there are service providers like us who will be able to support them as they heal from the experience. I'm sorry this happened. It shouldn't have happened to you. This shows the survivor that you have empathy. You can tell me as little or as much as you want. I'm glad you told me. I'm so proud of you. What can I do to support you? It took such strength to come forward. Avoid asking why. I can't stress that enough. Even with the best intentions, why questions can sound accusatory and make survivors blame themselves. So this is our pledge. And we're hoping that all of you will join us and take the pledge. So if anyone is interested in joining our campaign, they can reach out to me. I'd be happy to make sure that you get pledges. If your organization would like a presentation like I gave you today to all of your coworkers, I would be happy to do that. Our goal for the sexual assault response team is to have all of Orange County embrace our campaign so that we can make the world better for survivors. So the little bit about where we are already in our campaign. So we first started rolling it out to our sexual assault response team. So the very first law enforcement agency that hopped on board was Port Jervis and DEERPARK and the Orange County District Attorney's Office. They held a press conference. They signed their pledges and had right outside of the Port Jervis Police Department. Then we had Monroe Police. Then we had New Windsor, Town of Walk Hill. And this, again, you've seen this already. This is where Stephen Newhouse proclaimed Orange County a Start by Believing County on our first year. Then we had City of Middletown, Orange County Police Academy, SECOURS Community Hospital, Mount Hope Police, Greenwood Lake Police, Town of Chester. This is us, Mental Health Association. We've been lucky enough to have majority of our members have signed the pledge. So we are seeking justice, one response at a time. Every response matters. Your response matters. We're here at Orange County Rape Crisis to be a resource to anyone in the community that would like assistance or a presentation or help you in any way that you find would be helpful. So our number again is 1-800-832-1200. 311 will get you to Orange County Rape Crisis, or you can call the MHA Mental Health Association at 845-342-2400 and ask to speak to someone in rape crisis. If it's not an emergency and you just want to talk to one of us, you can use that number as well. So now I'm going to open up the floor for any questions, any thoughts. I don't see anything in the chat or hear anybody speaking. So I would love to thank you so much for the opportunity to share this campaign. Again, if anyone is interested in reaching out to me to become part of the campaign and to have a presentation, you just have to reach out to Tina Keneally at the Mental Health Association in Orange County, 845-342-2400. My direct extension is 1351. I work most every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, unless I'm on call. So I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. If you'd like to just sign a pledge and send it to me, that's a great way. I will put you up on our social media. We're hoping we were spotlighted by the international campaign on our first year. We're hoping always that we'll be able to repeat that, maybe get another international spotlight. So I welcome anyone that wants to take the pledge. So with that, I will end the meeting and hope everybody has a phenomenal day. I don't know if I can end the meeting, guys. I'm only a co-host.
Stop sharing your screen.
I did that
Now you can.
already. Okay, now I can. Bye, everybody. Oh, excellent. I see a bunch of people saying they want to take the pledge. Awesome.
You could scroll up on there. Oh, Dana was on there. That's nice. There you go.